Welcome to the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast. I am your host, Dean Phillips, and we are live from FABTECH 2025, live from the show floor here, and I am joined with me by the Vice President at Ultratech, Andy Melang. Welcome, sir.
Yes, thanks, Dean. Appreciate you having me on.
It is great to have you. I followed your work on LinkedIn and some of your messaging, and you've done a great job of getting the word out of some of the things that you do. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in that.
Yeah, so, I've been with Ultratech since I've been in high school, second generation ownership. So I've been on the shop floor, but I really started getting into sales, I'd say around 2014 or so. And I just, started from square one, didn't have much of a network, started to build from there. And LinkedIn was relatively new at that time, at least in manufacturing, especially. Kind of made a profile. I started to connect with some small people I knew at work, or suppliers. And I started thinking, no one's talking about manufacturing, and I'm certainly no one's talking about like stamping and stuff. And, this is 2015, 2016, whatever. I just start posting stuff. I'm connecting with people that, could be prospective customers, maybe suppliers, and just try to grow the network over time and really have that narrow focus. And it's just started to gain traction because it was something new. I think, me too. I'm can be a camera shy person. It doesn't probably look like that on LinkedIn per se, but nobody wanted to get in front of the camera and say, hey, this is what we're doing. We got these, large machines stamping out metal. And if we can reach out, not just to, prospective customers, but also like the youth, and we've got a lot of good young operators in our roster, that can begin to make a difference. And it just one thing started to build onto another. And I looked now, 10 years ago to today, and it's really neat to see, how I evolved, but also the industry as a whole. I mean, there's a lot more people now that are, hey, they're posting, their tool running this part, and we're all kind of collaborating. And it's just neat to see what everyone's doing. But it's helped tremendously marketing and sales to help our business grow.
100%. I think when you talk about, kind of being quiet and maybe more introverted, I think back when I was at Piranha, and even when I was national sales manager at Shea, one of the things that I always thought about, and this is because I had read this, not because I came up with it, but it's better to be an interested introvert than to be an interesting extrovert.
True.
Because otherwise you're just talking about yourself, and where you should be listening to what other people are saying. And that's really important. And I think your content does welcome people in. And I think that's really important, because I can tell you right now, when I've seen you posting stuff, what's going on your floor, it's like, wow, that is really cool. And I'll pick up on things, and I'll say, okay, that's interesting, the way that they chose to have the parts coming off or things like that. So how did you kind of come up with some of those ideas?
I was just trying to find stuff that we had some customers that would see our content, reach out, and we, would start to generate that relationship. Maybe it started with quoting, and okay, then we got an audit on site, to get approved as a supplier, and we kept building it. And I just thought, this is working. People want to see and not be told stuff. Seeing is believing.
Yeah.
So if I can show them, hey, here's our press lineup. It's running. It's this kind of part. Customer number one over here can say, hey, that looks like something we have a need for. Hey, that press looks like it might be more efficient than, XYZ's press or something, or there's maybe an opportunity to be a cost savings or solve a problem. It kind of grew from there. And I hammer on it a lot, but that's kind of how you sell is, there's got to be a problem to fix. And either problems has to be, you can bring something to the table they don't already have, and add value, solve a challenge, or maybe you do have a competitive advantage and it's a cost savings. And those are kind of the two big things, especially lately, we're hitting really hard is, hey, we want to solve a problem. It's easy for us to just be asked to be on a bid list. What else can we actually bring to the table to start the relationship?
Right. And I think that's really important, is having, what is the value added process that you bring to the table, and how does that change for you? Because it's a challenge, I think, for so many companies to understand their swim lanes, especially in the stamping and tool and die world. One of the problems that most of them is their identity. They don't have one. They're like, okay, we bid on this, but they don't know what they do well.
I mean, I've talked to people as recently as probably the last week. There's a stamper out in Connecticut, been connected a long time, but they do high speed. I can't do high speed.
Right.
I know certain companies and people that I'm connected with to say, hey, you should be targeting these people. I think they might have a need. And vice versa. They said, hey, we had to reject on this project because we couldn't do it, but this might work for you. And so that's why even networking at events like this and other like PMA events, you get that kind of knowledge where, hey, in some ways, do we compete against, people? Yes. And obviously, but there's a lot of opportunity to leverage the network and say, hey, it's not a good fit for me, but hey, if it helps you guys out, more power to you, because we all know this community has gotten kind of smaller over the years, and now everyone really knows everyone. At least that's what I see.
It is a very small, close-knit community over the years, and I've been in this industry now for 38 years now, and the one thing that I've learned is that it's amazing how many people can help you along your way. Networking, connections. I mean, that's a big part of the Precision Metal Forming Association as a whole, is communicating and connecting people together, because we don't all know everything, and we don't all have all the same skills and assets within the company, because think about it. You don't typically see people doing big 2,000-ton automotive and 2,000 stroke per minute high speed presses.
Exactly.
They kind of pick their lane that they're going to stay in and work around that.
Yeah. And you hit another good point, is just staying in contact with everyone, not just in the network of maybe who your suppliers are, who your competitors are, and customers, but, even from a customer standpoint, to hit on that for a moment, sometimes you'll have a customer that you really get a good relationship with, and for one reason or another, they might, jump ship to somewhere else, to a different organization, but they remember you. You take care of the customer, they remember you, and they see you on LinkedIn, and they're like, hey, actually, at my new company, we might have a need. Let's stay in contact, and you can grow from there. And that's worked really well for us. We've been extremely blessed by some really good people that we've worked with that, they've been really good to us at one company. They went to another one, and they're like, hey, we want to keep working with you because you took care of us. You guys were on top of it. And that you just can't beat that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that kind of connection that is lasting.
Yeah.
And people stay connected, and they're saying to themselves, we don't do that, but why don't you talk to Andy? And those are very valuable. And you're building those relationships over time. What are you here to see?
Well, a couple of different things. We got an expansion that probably we're trying to get up and going maybe yet this year. We're space constrained, which obviously is a good problem with growth that we've seen. We're very fortunate from that standpoint. So right now, immediate need is we're expanding, but eventually that expansion is going to need assets in it. And we've looked at bigger tonnage presses. We talked to some people here for like 1,200, 1,500 ton, and we also thought, well, maybe there's more opportunity in the 300, 400, 500, 600 ton. And so we're just gathering some more information. We have not dabbled into servo yet, but we know between reducing reverse tonnage, improving die life, of course, shortening the stroke, there's a lot of benefits to servo, and perhaps this next investment might be our first dabble into servo. I know it's been around a while, and I see the benefits, but the timing hasn't been right, but we're excited to get into there and at that point at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because one of the complications I've always said is that you can't not have a 2,000-ton press and bid on 2,000-ton work, because they're going to say, you don't have the press. Why would I give you this work when you have no experience in it whatsoever? So If you build it, they will come. So there is an element of that, but you also don't have the relationships with the customers in that space.
Yeah, it's a juggling act, because we've looked at 2,000 ton, but the automotive industry concentrated Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, in that area, Indiana. And sometimes people think we're a world away on the other side of Lake Michigan over in Wisconsin. And to some extent, they have a point, because if you're stamping big stuff off 2,000 ton transfer presses, the freight does hurt.
Yeah.
But, you get in that 1,200 ton, maybe 1,000 ton and lower range. Okay, you're doing small, medium-sized stampings even at a distance, we can be competitive. We've been competitive shipping to Mexico. I mean, you find your competitive advantage. We've been fortunate. We've refurbed some machines over the past few years that they're mechanicals, but they get real good speed, and they're just good, solid American-made presses that were built years ago, and we just give them new life. And they've made us competitive that we can kind of ship if we have to Germany. We've shipped to Mexico, and then all throughout the Southeast and even Texas. So looking at presses is a little bit of a thing. We're more long-term. So presses are one thing. Looked at some plating and some other things for some of our production parts, but other than that, networking.
Okay, great. Well, Andy, thank you so much for taking the time to be here on the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast. I appreciate you. It's been a long time coming. We've tried to connect, so thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Dean. Thank you
for finding the time. This has been the Destiny of Manufacturing live from the show floor here at FABTECH 2025.